What's up? What's happening? Welcome in on a Monday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're getting situated. We're always live. I don't care. Computer update, whatever. That was an ad, Anthony. Love PC gaming? Nope. This is a work computer. Get out of here, ad. What are you doing? Anthony, I think I've also decided that after a month of experimenting, I don't like you on the right side of the screen on YouTube or on the left side of the screen. I think I'm gonna put you back where you belong, on the other side. I don't know. It messes with me. I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't win with them. What else did what's his face say? Mike Singletary. You even know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Mike Singletary, the linebacker?
Yeah, when he was the coach of the 49ers. Yeah.
I think I do.
There was a player. Now I'm trying to remember who the player was. Oh, man. Also, why am I, now that the show's starting, now I want to cough?
Yeah, I don't know. There you go. Drink up.
Who was the player? This is going to drive me bananas.
Can't win with him.
But that's what it was. He said, oh, you want to know who it was? It was Vernon. It was Vernon Davis, young Vernon Davis. Early on in Vernon's career, he, did something Mike didn't like, didn't run a right route or, wouldn't block or wouldn't whatever. And he sent him to the locker room in the middle of the game. And his aspect was like, can't win with him. And it was like a whole attitude thing. So, yeah. All right, Anthony. In the count of three, we're going to switch places. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Bang. Now
I look cool.
Back. Yeah. Now it looks. Even though now when I look at Anthony, it looks like I'm looking off screen the other way. It's just most of the time I look right at the camera. So
I'm looking right at you, sir.
We're all set on that. Believe it or not, this is not how we're going to spend most of the show today. We're going to spend most of it talking about the Kevin Willard situation, including with the man who broke the story overnight on Sunday, Jeff Ermann of Inside Maryland, 24/7 Sports. Anthony, by the way, welcome back. You are back. You were on a boat somewhere in Jamaica and on the beach somewhere in Jamaica. I was running around the convention center this weekend. We'll compare notes on our weekends later on in the show. There's one other thing I was going to say off the top here. Anything else important that I need to note, Anthony? Adam Peters spoke today. We'll talk about that. 5:30.
I think that's all.
Okay.
Ermann's joining us.
Ermann's joining us.
Wizards play.
The Wizards play.
Ovechkin 5 goes away.
He is.
I don't.
Locker's back in the booth.
Yeah.
Love that. This is the worst 5 minutes to open a show that I've ever had in the history. Oh, I remember what the thing was. We have a new hour opener, Anthony.
Ooh.
I made a new one. There's a couple more that are coming too. I finally got the multi-track set up. So top of next hour, went deep in the archive. One that Anthony had pulled for me to make an hour opener out of last year during the football season.
Really?
Yeah. And I got that one. So we'll top 5 o'clock hour. New funny business to the show is coming up. So I've now yapped for too long, Anthony, and I can't do the full Willard take right now. So I will simply ask you, you come back. I actually think you're a really interesting person to ask considering the week that you have as I knock over equipment in the studio. When you left last week, it seems like Maryland fans, because so you left, your last show was Wednesday?
My last show was Tuesday.
How would you say Maryland fans felt on Tuesday about Kevin Willard and what he was doing?
So I would say, I actually know people that are at Maryland that cover the team. I know, high school basketball media that also are super fans of the team. And they wanted Willard back, but there was strong sentiments that, he would be moving on. And they were hearing about, Nova. And I'm in the chat. No, he's not leaving. No, he's staying. But everybody else is like, he's leaving. So I think a decent amount of if you're close to this situation, maybe you felt a different way. But I think Maryland fans as a whole probably are going to be sad because he turned the program around.
Well,
in
hold on,
2
but
years,
that's different than
3
what I
years.
asked you, right? It's not about like how do they feel now? I know how they feel now.
Yeah.
Everyone's pissed beyond hell, and I think I understand it a little bit more. And I think there's been some new stuff that's come out over the weekend that maybe changes a little bit of how I feel about it, although not much. To be honest, I think of this as a dirty game that he played, and there's doing some semantic stuff, and we'll get into it all in a few minutes here. But I feel like when you left on Tuesday, I think of our chat with Sheehan last Monday, where he's like, I like that Kevin came out and did this stuff. And then he goes on Kevin's show, and it seems like things are pretty good. Kevin likes that Kevin Sheehan likes that Kevin Willard is doing the stuff, saying the things in the public to try to move the program forward. And then Kevin Willard goes on Kevin Sheehan's show. Why do they have to both be bald white men named Kevin? For this particular story, that is annoying because I need someone to have a different name.
I think they can still Sheehan.
They can still be bald and white and men of a certain age. They can't both be named Kevin. So Willard goes on Sheehan's show. Things seem hunky-dory. And then you leave. And, Anthony, this is all your fault because that's when all hell broke loose.
Man.
That's when, like, in the time that, like, when you left, I feel like Maryland fans were like, this is going to help push the program forward, and he's going to stay. And then, but you got back, and he was gone. And they hate his guts.
Yeah, I caught wind of it while I was in the airport because I knew nothing, going on back here. I didn't know anything about
Unplugged
the Commanders,
on island
the
time.
Terps. I was completely unplugged. So Sunday, as I'm waiting in the airport, I'm like, all right, let me just, I guess get ahead on work. I work tomorrow. First thing I see, Willard to Nova. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So that was a nice, welcome back, to work.
Yeah.
Me.
So the big question I want to try to tackle next is, did he lie about it? Because I think this is kind of at the core of the anger of a lot of Maryland fans. And I read a ton of stuff earlier today. I read TikToks, which is what a news story with a timeline is called, not the thing on the app on your phone. I haven't watched any TikToks on my phone, on the app, about Kevin Willard. I've read articles with timelines, also known as the business as TikToks, of how it all went down. I have read other reporting around it. And I have three main lies that I think Maryland fans are accusing Kevin Willard of. And I want to see how many of them are lies actually next based off what I know. And then I'm going to ask at 5 o'clock Jeff Ermann from Inside Maryland, the #1 Terps insider, about them. So that's how we set up. We'll take your calls in between at 301-230-0980 here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. So Kevin Willard has left Kevin Willard has left Maryland for Villanova. And there are, I think, three sentiments, if you will, that Maryland fans are really, really mad about, Anthony. And I've listed them out in the rundown in my notes here. And I want to parse out whether or not these things are true or not. And if they are, like, how significant are they? So, are you ready to join me on this exercise?
Let's get it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your clear intent to participate. Okay. I think the first big one, and this is the one I actually understand the most being pretty thoroughly pissed about if I was a Maryland fan, alum, booster, donor, whatever. If I get what I want, I'll stay. Right? And this is where Willard publicly made his case for the university. To kind of go against the power and say, like, I'm going to use this moment and this leverage to try to get more for the program. He's like, we need more money, we need more resources, more staffing, more all of these things. And according to Jeff Ermann and others, again, Jeff will join us at 5 o'clock, Maryland administrators met with him and were ready to give him those things. The reporting says, like, more staff, more resources. He was going to have the biggest percent share of any men's basketball program of Big Ten, or in the Big Ten, of revenue. So Ohio State, all those programs that have all this money, percentage-wise, of his school's budget, he was allegedly going to have a higher percent than anybody else in the conference, which would make sense for Maryland, who is a basketball school in a football conference, that, hey, let's be great at the thing that our fans, our alums want to be great at. Let's put money into men's basketball. Brenda Free is doing a great job with the women's program, but we need the men's program to get there. So let's put some more money into it. And apparently he still said, I'm good. I'm out of here. He also was going to get more money personally in his contract because, of course, that's how those things work. But the one thing that he doesn't have here, and this is where I think the question comes down to, like, is this a big lie, little lie, is he still didn't have a boss. Like, he still didn't have an athletic director. And where I think I come down on it is he lied about this. If he distinctly said, if I get these things, I will stay. I don't know that he ever actually said that, like A to B. He said the conversations are good. You know, as of now, I'm staying. Like, there's a lot of, and I understand, look, a lot of this is semantics. And if you're, like, emotionally enraged as a Terps fan, then you don't want to hear a thing about semantics. But I think Maryland getting him those things made him, like, really call the bluff, if you will, right? Where ultimately what I think this comes down to is at Villanova, he doesn't have to compete with football. It's got a better basketball track record, certainly in the last 25 years. And he knows who his boss is going to be as the athletic director, where Damon Evans just left for SMU, and they don't know how quickly they're going to get another person in place. So he got more resources, he got more money, he got all the things, except for he didn't get a boss and stability. And in that way, I think this is a lie, but I also don't blame him for it, if that makes sense, because I would want to know who my boss is before accepting a job.
Yeah, I mean, the timing for me is what gets me. I mean, I guess also, like, the portal's opening, so you got to, get into the portal. You got to make sure, things are aligned. And I guess, like, him leaving for Villanova granted him and allow him to, that kind of stuff. But at the same token, it's just, I don't think people really like how quick he was to, move on. But this was a fluid, situation. So, like, he had to, like, make a decision. And ultimately, he probably just made the decision that was going to be best for him. And also, I think at Nova.
Of course he did. That part, I think, is not up for contest. Like, he made the decision he thought was best for him and his family. The question is, like, what damage did he do along the way, right? And Here's where I actually wonder, and this is one of the questions I have written down for Jeff, is like, this episode clearly stinks. And it stinks for the program and the fans who just wanted to enjoy this last week. And the timing is weird. I mean, the incident, why is the portal open? Open the portal 2 weeks after the season so you can have, this is so stupid. There's other sports where this happens. I'm just like, why is the free agency? Why is this happening? Why are these negotiations happening? Like, let people focus on, and it's just like the NFL, there's like a month and a half between the end of the season. And I realize for college kids it's a little bit different because like the semester's ending. But it's not ending that quickly. Anyway, I actually wonder if long-term this could be good because the next coach can come in and be like, hey, like, I still want that stuff. Like, you guys are ready to commit it there. I don't think you're not. I want it too. And I'll take the program even farther than he did, and I won't be a weasel, to use the term of the week to describe Kevin Willard. The second one, though, is one that I also want to ask Ermann about, but, like, to this point, I don't know that this is true. This idea that he lied to the team. I don't know that we have any evidence of that. I have not read that anywhere. Like, I think we all, as human beings in human nature, we all put our own perspectives into situations that don't involve us because our perspective is the only one that we have. Right? We've never lived as somebody else. I've never lived in your shoes, Anthony. You've never lived in mine. So if you're going through something that feels familiar to me, all I can do really is, or what my first instinct, I should say, is to put myself in that situation and tell you what I would do. Right? That's human. With that said, I think we could probably do a little bit better in trying to see things from other people's perspectives and have a little bit more empathy. And I mean empathy in the truest sense of the word, like trying to see it from someone else's point of view. And on this one, I don't mean that just from Willard's side. I mean that from the student side. Half these kids transferred in. They've moved schools. The rest of it, like Derek Queen, he told us why he went to Maryland. Because he got paid. Like, he knows who the bag man is. Bag man was Willard. What's he going to do? Get mad at his coach for going to get his own bag? Hell no. And so I think that those of us that went to school in a different time wind up applying our sensibilities to how the kids feel, where the kids are like, this is the way it is. They've grown up watching it. This is the whole experience of which they've lived. If they have a good season and have a chance to go to a bigger school, they would do the same thing. But that's not how fans operate. And so there's this assumption that he lied to the kids and that the kids were hurt by this. I don't know that that is true. I'm not saying I know that it's not true. That's very different. But I have not read anywhere in the reporting that that is true. And it would not surprise me if Willard was just like, yo, guys, here's the situation. I know there's other stuff floating out there. I'm going to deal with it after the season. For right now, I'm focused on you. And maybe he was able to do that successfully. Maybe he wasn't. But that was clearly what he was trying to do, which brings us to the third one, which is this is the semantics goof that anybody who's been through a job search, I think, can empathize with. And this is uncomfortable, but it's just how it goes. Oh, I haven't talked to my family about it. It doesn't mean they didn't mention it to each other. Like, I heard Naki on Doc's show yesterday saying, like, his family was there the whole time. There's no way it didn't come up in the hotel room. I bet you it probably came up like this. Yeah, my agent's calling about this Villanova thing. Like, there's definitely, like, we're going to have to talk about it when the tournament's over. Okay, we'll talk about it as a family when the tournament's over. And then they talk about it for 2 hours after the tournament's over. The discussion's quick. It's not like it has to be a bunch of stuff. Hey, well, are they giving you what you want? Yeah. More money? Yeah. Do you want to live in Philadelphia? Yeah. Or whatever the reasons were. Like, it doesn't have to be this big drawn out thing. You just, we haven't had the conversation yet. We know we've had a conversation about having a conversation. Technically, he's not lying. He hasn't had the conversation yet. But you haven't done it until you did the other thing, which was finish the tournament. So, all in all, do they probably know deep down inside that he was actually leaving along all the timelines that everyone is reporting on and saying, oh, he's been talking to Villanova for weeks. Yeah, I'm sure his agent had it all set up. I'm sure his agent on some level kept him abreast. Did he really engage with that information till the bitter end? I don't know, but it's possible he didn't. And then when he did, he made a fairly quick and easy decision, which is what his agent's job is to get that set up. He could have always bucked it. And that responsibility is on Willard, right? If he truly thought Maryland was the place to be, he could have said, hey, thanks for all your work on the Villanova thing, but I'm good, dog. We're staying here. Thanks for getting me the leverage so I can get a little more cash out of it and get the program in a better place. But in reading some of the stuff, I definitely get why Maryland fans are mad at some of it a little bit more. But I still think if I'm a Terps fan, my ire is far more on the university and the status of our basketball program and where it stands in the nation currently than it is on Kevin Willard for doing, by the way, the exact same thing Kevin Willard did to Seton Hall and kind of acting like college basketball coaches do. And it's messy and it's nasty and it's not good for the business overall. But this is how business gets done. And unfortunately, instead of the smoothest operators and nobody leaking or your job search out there that's not even in the public eye, this stuff is all reported on constantly and some people can't help themselves. And thus we get the messiness of the last 2 weeks, which undoubtedly took away, Anthony, I think, from some of the fun of the Sweet 16 run for a lot of fans.
Yeah, a lot of fans didn't even have, a chance to soak it all in kind of thing. So the fact all of this happened while I was don't blame me, Craig.
Why not? Why can't we blame Anthony?
I think it's just coincidence.
Up next, is it Anthony's fault? 301-230-0980. And your actual thoughts on the Willard situation, but mostly, is it Anthony's fault? Next. 301-230-0980 is our phone number. You can get in. Now that the deed is done, Kevin Willard is gone from Maryland to Villanova. You can give us a call. Let us know your thoughts. 301-230-0980. Thoughts been flowing in on the stations throughout the day. We got Chris Nockey yesterday on with Doc. That I think this is the way a lot of Maryland fans feel about this, and I don't know that it's entirely wrong to characterize this way, but I thought this was great because I think Coach captures the way that things feel right now in College Park.
I don't know where to start with this. I mean, it just over the last 10 days, all of it feels calculated and orchestrated. And on the one hand, Doc, I was actually in the press room when he said that about, I'm just going through it. I haven't talked to my agent, haven't talked to my wife, my family. And then, I get on the planes going to Seattle and going to San Francisco and coming home from San Francisco. And his wife and kids were there the whole time. I mean, it sort of defies logic to think that it wasn't discussed at all in the hotel room. Right. It was so poorly handled by him. And the worst part about it, Doc, is, to me, the program hadn't been to a Sweet 16 in 10 years. And this is an opportunity. This is when this group should be dancing in the streets. When you win 2 games in Seattle, you also the Derek Queen thing. You're the most talked about program in the country for that, because of the way that game ended, because of Queen, this personality. And he stole that. I don't know any other way to put it. He stole that. And that's really infuriating when you think about it. When you think about it like that, a program that is used to a level of success finally gets back there, and he deserves some props for being a huge part of that. No question about it. But at the end of the day, runs away like a thief in the night, really. He took that away from Maryland fans, and for that, I mean, it's hard to look at it any other way from me.
I totally get that. I think there's a couple of interesting things. We talked in the last segment about the idea that his wife and kids were there the whole time, that they hadn't talked about it. Like, I think on some level that's semantics. You say, hey, we'll have the conversation after this team is done. When we got to make a decision, we will. And then you have that decision, you have that discussion. It doesn't take that long, the day after, 2 days after the season. And then next thing you know, you're off to Villanova. Okay, these things happen quickly because they happen in slow motion until the end, and then the end has already been, I won't say preordained, but it's been set up. Do you walk to door number 1 or walk back through door number 2 back to where you were? And that's kind of what happened in this situation. I also think that there is in that, and I'm not trying to parse Chris's words here or anything like that. I just think there's an interesting revelation about the state of Maryland basketball. That is, if I'm a Terps fan, a larger oh man, I don't love this. Which is, Chris talks about, this is the farthest the program's been in 10 years. This is a moment to celebrate. You should have been dancing in the streets. And I'm like, over a Sweet 16? Anthony, I'll ask you real quick. Because we share an alma mater that was once good at basketball and isn't good anymore. If Syracuse gets back to a Sweet 16, how excited are you over that?
Not too excited.
Yeah, same. I'm like, good. This is where you should be competing for every year. Realistically, are you going to make it every year? No, of course not. You're not Duke. You're not Michigan State. You're not premier program. But if you're the next tier down, we should be in the Sweet 16 on a regular basis. You should be a top 4 seed, and that means you should not be getting upset all the time. At least 2 every 5 years? At least? And if you really hopefully get some top flight recruits every once in a while, you can be even better than that, which is where Syracuse was when I was in school. It's where I know Maryland fans were for a long, long, long time. Like, you were always sitting on that 2, 3, 4 line. You're going to the Sweet 16 on the regular. That's where you want to be, right? So is Sweet 16 really something to be celebrating? And I guess when you haven't been there in a while, it's good to have fresh perspective. And like, look, hate to say it, but if it's 2016 and 03 are the last two appearances, the kids that are at Maryland right now, they don't remember Steve. Like, Steve Blake is out there like, hey, I want to be the coach of the team. And some of these kids are probably like, who's Steve Blake? Which I hate, because that makes me feel real old. Anthony, that might make you feel old.
It does.
Yeah. But like, kids these days. But like, literally the kids in school right now. I mean, you work with high school kids. What year were the kids that are graduating this year born?
07.
Yeah.
07?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess Blake was done. And this is when Grievous, he burst into the scene at Maryland. Like,
that's that era. Like, Grievous versus J.J. Redick is like 04, 05 in that range.
Yeah.
So the seniors at Maryland right now might have not seen Steve Blake play. Like, as they were being held as babies, unconscious basically in their parents' arms, did not see. They were not alive for Steve Blake. So it's been a long time. But that is where Maryland wants to be. And so my actual hope in all of this is that even though this situation has, I guess I put it like this. My hope is that in all of this, even though this has been painful and it really sucks for the kids that were going through this and the fans that wanted to have a better experience for better or worse, what is the best run they've had in a decade. My hope is that this pushes the program forward. That even though Willard leaves, that the next coach can come in and say, hey, I want those things too, and then they can make another Sweet 16 next year. And then, who knows, maybe 2 years from now they take a dip, but a year after that, they're back in the Sweet 16. Or at the very least, they're on the 3-4 line, maybe even pushing the 2 line to try to be where they want to be again. That they're a school that takes the resources of the Big Ten, like was promised when they changed conferences, and make the most of it. That their basketball program, the one that the fan base and the alumni base cares the most about, benefits from this, even though this has been a painful way of getting potentially to that end game. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. We got a couple calls on deck, and we will get to them after we tell you what's trending. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We'll get the latest and the inside report, the inside scoop on Kevin Willard's departure from Maryland from Jeff Ermann coming up at the top of the hour. But right now we're taking your calls on it, 301-230-0980. Let's get things started with Matthew. Matthew, thanks for holding through the break, man. Appreciate it. What you got on Willard and how this all went down?
Sure, of course. Thanks for taking the call. I want to kind of address something you said. You said that people should be expecting Sweet 16s and we shouldn't get excited about it. I got to tell you, first, we haven't had one in a while, and only 16 teams get to do it every year. So fan bases should always be excited about making a Sweet 16. And more specifically in this case, the reason why what Willard did was a problem is because Maryland makes it to a Sweet 16. They do so in an exciting last second fashion on an incredible play by their star. And all of that is erased by the way Willard handled it. It's not that he went to Villanova, and it's not that he jumped ship, and it's not that he did his own NIL, which kids do in college. It's perfectly fine. It's the way he handled it, and it absolutely took away from the experience that kids could have had and the us fan base could have had.
So I would say two things, Matt, because I think these are fair points and fair questions. One, I would say I would expect Sweet 16s every year is different than like be excited about one every 10 years. Like that one every 10 years is not the caliber of program Maryland wants to be. They want to be in it, 4 to 5 times every 10 years. Is that a fair assessment of like how Maryland thinks of itself as a basketball program or how fans think of what they wanted of the basketball program?
100%, and that's how we were with Gary Williams, for example, and in our history. But we're not there now. So,
and that's kind of my point, right? Is that it's not that this group shouldn't have been excited or that fans shouldn't be excited. It's just like if this is now cause for celebration in the streets, that means Maryland is not what it used to be, and that should be a wake up call for Maryland. That's my only point on that. My other question to you is this, and this is the part that I struggle with because I agree with you. Clearly, this was not optimal in the way that Willard handled this, but what does optimal look like here? Because I don't know that there's a clean way to handle this. And that might just be the unfortunate reality of where the messiness of college sports and how the timelines and the contracts go meets good reporting and people talking to agents. And, Villanova's got to cooperate because how do we know that, I guess I'm not going to ask Jeff who his sources were because that's incredibly unprofessional. But there was a lot of reporting on this from the Maryland side. But from the national side, the national reporters certainly have sources at Villanova too. So I don't know, what that would be my question, right? For a Maryland fan, what does optimal look like in a way that this story is developing just because that's how it works in the background that doesn't ruin the tournament?
It's super easy. This is the easiest thing to handle in the universe, and I don't know why this wasn't a layup for him. Hey, I'm going to deal with where I'm going to be coaching after the season is over. I appreciate the question, but I'm focused on my team. Right now, we got to prepare for Florida after our team did this incredible job. Did you see that play? Our team is awesome. Florida's got this tough, strong, athletic team that we've really got to prepare for. Totally pivots the question to the case at hand and deflects actually answering the question. By bringing up we're not getting enough money to be able to stay a night over in New York City, he's making it public about his issues with the university rather than about the kids' performance in the tournament.
So that question, though, when he did that, was before the tournament. He did that before the Grand Canyon game.
And then when it comes up during the tournament, and then when it comes up
and then he answered it the way that you asked him
to.
to. He pivoted the question towards Florida.
Not really, but
yes, really.
That's not how he handled it. No, if you think about the interviews that were being replayed, like what he did on Kevin Sheehan's show, the two bald Kevins.
Yes.
His response there was part of what fed this fire. He fed the fire and kept it going. That's the problem.
Yes, and at that point, he probably should have unless he was planning on staying, he probably should have not done the interview with Sheehan. You have to understand that is not a friendly interview because Kevin's going to push you, but one that is seen as I'm doing the Maryland thing. There is no bigger Maryland media person, with all due respect to JP, than Sheehan. Sheehan has been synonymous with Maryland forever. Before I lived in Washington, D.C., I knew Sheehan as the Maryland guy from listening to Van Pelt nationally. So he probably shouldn't have done that. I don't think it's been optimal. but I also don't know that there is a way, because I think the if he answers it the way that you suggest all along, well, then people are like, oh, well, he's clearly not committed to staying. Like it always sounds better than it plays out in reality, and it's impossible to make everyone happy.
Yeah, but I'm not disagreeing. But the whole point is then the speculation about is he leaving or not goes to the back burner, and the front burner is about preparing for Florida, celebrating the win. By having the interview and responding the way he did to Sheehan, he actually made it the front burner. He made it the focus. That's the whole point. That's not even just suboptimal. That's actually detrimental.
Yeah, Matthew, I hear you, and I think I'll put it this way. We'll leave our exchange here.
I'm right.
Yes, you're 100% right, and I'm a bozo, but at least I have hair. No, I think we leave it. That felt mean. Sorry, Kevin Sheehan, but not to Kevin Willard. See, Maryland fans, I got your back. I think that your way is probably better, easier, and smoother, and there are less people mad today. I don't think it makes everyone happy, and because I don't think that with the reality, like I think the only way that quote unquote everyone's happy is if this news never comes out during, which Willard is, by the way, not in control of, because his agent, and maybe you could say he's in control of his agent, but then you still have all the people at Villanova and all the people at Maryland. By the way, I think that's something that's worth pointing out too, like having reported on stories like this. Sometimes when people tell you information, the first thing you should think of is, why does this person want me to know this thing? And I think there's people at Maryland that knew that he was probably leaving, that they weren't going to be able to appease whatever it is that he wanted, for better or for worse, and that they put it out there so that people got pissed at him, and they're not pissed at the university. Like that. And by the way, if that's what they did, good job to those people, because it worked. But then whose fault is it? But I would say then whose fault is it that the run got ruined for the kids and the fans?
And it comes back to this. It's Willard who did that, because all of that is in the background. Nobody really likes the administration at Maryland with what they're doing with their athletics. They don't have an athletic director now. Now they don't have a head coach for the basketball team. It looks like they are nickel and diming everyone. Nevertheless, that's back burner. He made it a front page. And I want to address one thing you just said. It's not about making everyone happy. It's about making the base happy. It's about making the 80% happy. If 20% are going to be upset, 20% are going to be upset. But right now, 80% are upset. That's where he failed. I really love your show. I'm going to let you go because I know you have other callers. I really appreciate it.
Matthew,
and thank you, Anthony. You're the best.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Matthew. Anthony is the best. We approve this message. Really appreciate the call. I think, I appreciate that exchange because I think it captures kind of both sides here, and that we're existing in a gray area. No one's going to be happy. We're talking about percentages, and we're also talking about things that maybe can't be controlled by the person that is getting the blunt of the vitriol here. There is no doubt that Kevin Willard was unprepared on how to handle this situation. He could have handled it better. He could have engendered less vitriol toward him, and thus less anger around the last couple weeks of Maryland basketball, which should have been far more joyous. But I also think that there is an undeniable nature of the facts as they were, which largely exist in a larger context of college basketball and the messiness that made this a no-win situation for Willard, that he then made, if you play this out 10 times and do it 10 different ways, this is the third or fourth worst of those, maybe the second worst of those, where there was a lot of other ways to potentially not make everyone mad like he seemingly has. So how'd all this go down? Let's peel the curtain back as much as Jeff Ermann will let us. Jeff Ermann, Inside Maryland. He is the #1 Terps insider out there, and he joins us next. All right, we'll be joined by Jeff Ermann now in about 12 minutes. Ermann, this is a new one for us, Anthony. Hey, my phone's about to die. Can you give me a few minutes to charge it? And you're like, yeah, that's better than your phone dying on the air.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Jeff at 5:15. Brand new hour opener there, Anthony. Here's the pop quiz. Do you remember what the pick was? Which game we were talking about?
This is from this is last year?
I think it was.
This 2 seasons ago?
I'm trying to remember if it was 2 seasons ago where it was the you had titled the clip "One Man Train Wreck," and by the way, the one man train wreck was you.
Was this the Super Bowl?
It started off you searching for your Super Bowl picks.
Ah, okay.
Which I think was 2 years ago. When did you pick?
So it had to be last offseason.
Yeah. No, it was during the season though. Because it was the part that we cut out and put in there was you giving away your pick for the weekend. Thing is, I don't think they played this team last year. They didn't. It had to be 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you remember then?
No, I listened to the clip an hour ago when I made that.
Oh. Well, hold on. Let me go find the audio because we can get to the bottom of this, Craig. We get to the bottom.
You got to make a guess.
The pick was and it was a team we didn't play.
Well, no, it's a team that ultimately we did play. But it was last year. It was 2 years ago when they played them.
I'm gonna go the Bears.
No, all right. Here's the full clip of where that came from. Is there anybody better on screens than McCaffrey? Like, there's a reason they traded for that dude and are willing to pay him when that position is not one that anybody pays.
Yeah.
He's a lot more than a running back for them. Yeah. And then they got Debo. So, ironic.
It's not fair.
No. That's why I picked him to win the Super Bowl, bro.
Well, you cling to that hope. I'm going a different direction.
Who'd you pick again?
To win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
God.
Damn. You don't even remember?
I really don't.
Such confidence and conviction.
Hold on.
We gotta look it up.
Yeah.
Is it on that little sheet of paper?
So I have sticky notes in here?
You do. Pause. Your lack of organization, or I shouldn't say your lack of organization. Your version of organization is different than my version of organization.
I know.
Which is different than my wife's version of organization.
I'm a pen and paper kind of guy.
In case, I was a pen and paper guy for a little bit this season, but then you realize that you got to keep track of the paper.
Yeah.
This is why, one, free ad for Remarkable or any other kind of tablet that you can write on and take notes. You get the feeling of pen and paper, but everything's right there in front of you digitally.
Oh.
And two, why just sometimes it's better to just put some stuff in a document if it's like, picks for a season.
Yeah.
You're going to need that sheet of paper 3 months later. Anyway, we're about to reveal the team that we were talking about through all of
Oh,
this.
here it is right here. Boom. I'm going the Eagles over the Bills. I thought I had the Eagles.
Okay. And you got the Bills, who the Commanders will see this weekend.
Yes.
It's the Bills.
But I think we win this weekend. Oh.
Oh.
I didn't mean to. I previewed my pick for tomorrow. But I know where you're going to go. You're going to go with the Bills.
I'm not going to give away the pick.
I already gave away mine.
You have to, two wrongs don't make a right, Anthony.
You're
Haney.
right. You're right, Craig.
Damn. What a train wreck. That was a one-man car crash right there. That was incredible. Normally you leave those to me. Thanks for making me feel better.
Anytime.
All right. So that was sometime years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Here's why I wanted to play
The Bills, I know exactly when it was. Week 3. We got destroyed.
I was about to say, I feel like it had to be early season 2023.
Yep.
Because when were the Bills on the schedule that you would have not picked them over the Commanders?
Yeah.
Because they didn't play last year, and now we're back into Rivera era, and which makes you remember the Washington Commanders, the team that ultimately naturally finished with the second draft pick and drafted Jaden Daniels, was 2-0 to start the 2023 season.
Yeah.
And had Anthony Haney, notoriously great at picking football games, picking them to win.
Yeah.
And then Josh Allen came in here, and that's when it all went kerplunk.
Would you say that game was more Josh Allen or more on Sam Howell? Because I feel like Sam Howell threw endless picks. They had endless sacks. It got ugly.
I don't remember.
I remember they had like 8 or 9 sacks.
Some people can really remember games like that. Like they have the fans. I mean, like McVay can remember play calls.
Yeah.
I don't know how great my memory is sometimes on some of that stuff. I remember a lot of other random stuff, but like people are like, oh yeah, back in 22 when they played so and so in this game, and I'm like, yeah, I remember. I tried to black out most of the Ron Rivera era from my memory.
It got ugly.
It's a lot of bad ball I had to watch.
Yeah.
I remembered it for the week, and then I'd be like, okay, I don't think I'm going to need to reference that game again. And then I'd watch the same game unfold the next week. Again, and again, and again, and again. Yeah. Anyway, that's the behind the scenes of the Hoffman Show. That was a little we call rain delay theater in the business, where hey, there's a rain delay. You guys talk and be entertaining, and hopefully the rain will stop and we'll play baseball. Except for in this case, instead of playing baseball, we're going to talk to Jeff Ermann. Do we think Jeff's phone is ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're going to break a little bit early, come back. That gives us extra time with Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised 10 minutes ago, Jeff Ermann is next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. A little bit later than usual, but we know what today's top story is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
No one knows what's going on at the University of Maryland in terms of athletics better than Jeff Ermann. He is the Terps insider for 24/7 Sports. And right as we were about to toss to him, I guess maybe his phone. I hope his phone didn't die, Anthony. He was on hold. I hit the button. His phone. He was on hold.
I know. We're getting him back up.
We're getting him back on the phone. I was ready. I was locked in. Do 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 do. We already did Rain Delay Theater in the last segment. This is Anthony. The phone at least ringing, because then it shouldn't be dead. If it goes straight to voicemail, we are cooked. We are in trouble.
It rang the first time. It's not ringing right now.
Okay. Tell you what. Let's do this. We're gonna try Jeff one more time at 5:30. Right now we're just gonna do something else. Commanders General Manager Adam Peters spoke at the NFL owners meetings today, and we've got sound from it because he talked about all kinds of different stuff, and we're gonna talk about that now, and then we'll catch up with Ermann when his phone stops being annoying. First and foremost thing that he was asked was about the Deebo Samuel signing. This is the first time that Peters has spoken at length since he could talk about Samuel and the signing, or really the trade that he made for Deebo, and then the contract that he gave him where he shifted the money around, guaranteed it for this year. And so here was Adam Peters earlier today at the NFL owners meetings down there in Florida.
Yeah, well, obviously I know Deebo really well. We drafted him. We were actually coached him at the Senior Bowl, so I got to know him there pretty well too. So I know a lot about him, know what kind of competitor he is, what kind of playmaker he is. I've seen firsthand like him take over games, and it's really infectious throughout the team too. And just a great person, great human. Like, they came in, his whole family came in when we signed him, and they're on their way to Disneyland, so the big old crew, they're ready to go to Orlando. But just what he can do for our team, being a playmaker with the ball in his hands, he's very versatile, and he's a great teammate, so he really kind of opens up our offense when you have him and Terry at receiver, and obviously a bunch of other guys too. But being able to get a playmaker like that and understanding that it wasn't a huge cost for us made it something enticing.
The cost part is, I think, the other interesting part about this whole offseason for Washington, and Peters talked about this as well today. Ultimately, you want to draft good players. In other words, you want to turn draft picks into good players. And when you draft them as draft picks, they come with rookie contracts, which are very, very cheap. In the Commanders' case, their two biggest offseason acquisitions are Deebo, who comes with a big, heavy veteran contract, and Laramie Tunsil, who cost them multiple draft picks, will need a new contract, and his current contract is near the top of the market for left tackles. So what is the theory here on using draft capital to acquire players, as they've done multiple times this offseason?
You take each opportunity as they come, right? And so understanding where, we were able to get really good players at really good, important positions, there's give and take to that, right? And so we did pick 9 players last year. I think they all made the team, right? And then we had 2 rookie free agents make the team as well. So we have 5 picks this year. We could have more, depending on what happens. So we do. It's almost a full complement both years. Obviously, you do want to build through the draft, and I feel that all the time. But understanding when you can get, a premier corner, a premier receiver, a premier left tackle, those are things you have to really look into. And we just felt that was the best move for us.
I think that's 100% the right approach, to just take things as they come. You have to take, I've said this a million times this offseason, you have to take a look at the market. The market dictates what you can do. The options on signing free agents, very, very slim. I think the other point he makes, though, is really, really good. So typically, or I shouldn't say typically, every year you start with a complement of 7 picks, right? And you get those picks a certain number of years out, and you get one per round. Then you might add picks by compensatory picks if one of your free agents signs for big money somewhere else and you do not immediately replace them with your own big free agent. And it's a formula and it's complicated, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I totally understand how it works. But basically, if John Allen leaves and signs a big contract and you don't sign someone else to as big of a contract, you're going to get some draft compensation in the third round or later, depending on how much money you lose in free agency and the contracts that's signed. And again, it goes into that formula and it's complicated. But you start on a baseline level, one pick per round. Then you can trade those picks away. You can trade for other teams' picks. And year over year, to balance out the roster, you probably want at least about 7 rookies. But that doesn't mean necessarily 7 rookies every year. So if last year they drafted 9 guys and they had 2 undrafted free agents make the team, okay, that's 11. If your 2-year rolling average should be 14 and your 3-year rolling average should be 21, then 11 plus the 5 this year would be 16, 5 next year, 3-year average, they're still sitting at 21. That is actually a really important point that I am now mad at myself that I haven't thought of yet, but it does help explain some of the risks they've been willing to take in terms of cap control. Now, some of these contracts are going to expire sooner rather than later. You don't want to put it all in one year because then you have too many guys you need to sign in one year and not enough in the other, and especially when Jaden's extension is going to hit and the whole deal. But 9/11 last year plus 5, and that assumes, by the way, that all 5 make the team and no undrafted free agents make the team. They're doing just fine contractually, which is part of the reason why they felt good trading for Laramie Tunsil.
Those guys don't come on the market very often, right? Left tackles in free agency or any time, really. And picking 29, it's not like you're picking top 5 and it's a sure thing or as close to a sure thing as you can get. So when you have an opportunity like that, and we really wanted to bolster the offensive line, and he's, in our opinion, one of the best. You can say he's top 3, top 2 in pass protection. I think he's underrated as a run blocker too, and understanding too, we have people in that building that really vouch for him as a person, so we knew he'd fit in with our team, with our locker room, within that O-line room, and early returns show like he's been great. When he came out here, he's connected with a lot of our guys, and I think he's going to be a great addition. So those opportunities are rare, so we thought it was the right to pass.
So Laramie Tunsil is exactly what we all thought. He's very good. Getting a guy that's that good is not available, and they didn't have another path to get a guy that was that good. I think the other part that is interesting that is still to play out is the offensive line moves moving forward. Brandon Coleman, it seems like, is going to play right tackle to start. Is that definite? Is that we're going to try him at right tackle, and if it doesn't go great, then we'll kick him inside? Like, I think those moves are TBD, but ultimately those are Dan Quinn questions, not necessarily Adam Peters questions. And I do believe Quinn will speak at the NFC Coaches Breakfast, which I think is tomorrow morning. The other big offensive thing to do this offseason is to get a deal done with Terry McLaurin in terms of an extension. And Adam Peters was asked about that earlier today as well.
I think, short answer is we want to make Terry a commander for a long time. He's a great commander. He got better and better as the season went on, not only as a player but as a leader. It was really impressive to see him grow so much when you think of Terry as this, pristine, polished player, but then he got even better, so it's really cool. Everybody can get better, even the great ones. So, but we've had talks with Terry's representation, and I think just like any talks we'll have, those will stay in the house. But it's been really positive.
So we'll see when that ultimately gets done. It might be something they do after the draft. There's no particular rush. Honestly, a lot of these things get done in training camp too, where like they work all off season, and sometimes the player wants it done before OTAs. And before the mandatory minicamp, it's like, hey, I want the new money guaranteed before I go work out with the team. So that would be the first deadline, is OTAs. So post-draft, they get in there, and maybe he signs it on the first day he gets there. It's just like, hey, man, like, contract's done. We've agreed, but I haven't actually signed it yet. We're going to wait until I'm in the building so I don't have to take an extra trip back, presuming that Terry's training somewhere in Florida or California, where most of these guys are in the offseason, as opposed to being in Virginia. And so you could just wait till then. You could do it in June if he's like, hey, guys, I'm not going to do the mandatory stuff if I don't get this new deal, which doesn't feel like how Terry goes about his business, but could. And then the other one that happens a lot is like, hey, man, we'll sign it when we get to training camp, and like we'll get it done. And so I think that's probably where they are. No one seems particularly pressed. I don't think Terry's the kind of guy that's going to get pressed about this. Surely he wants his money. He's not going to get taken advantage of, but he's also not going to freak out about this either. Last but not least, on the offensive side of the ball, there's more sound on some defensive stuff that we'll play for you a little bit later on in the show after we talk to Jeff. Jeff is confirmed. We're good to go with Jeff Ermann for 5:30, phone charge and all. But long answer here from Adam Peters when he was asked about the tight end room. They keep Ertz, obviously, which is huge for Jaden, but it's also big for Ben Sinnott, and they're also able to bring back John Bates, maybe an underrated signing. These wide tight ends are really hard to find. He's really good in that very specific blocking role. So Adam Peters was asked about this tight end room and what it meant to keep it together.
Yeah, I think just starting with Zach, bringing him in last year, we were really pleased with how he not only played but what a leader he was, and becoming a captain voted on by his teammates at the end of the year was really, really cool to see just how his leadership grew throughout the year, much like Terry's. And so that was a priority for us to bring him back. And he's been, people can say he's lost a step, but he still gets open all the time, and his blocking got better as the year went on too. So everybody had that mindset to get better, and Zach was fit right in with that. And he's a great weapon to have in the pass game, especially. So that was a priority. And then John Bates, we think he's, if not the best, one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. And his mentality, his tenacity, his physicality fit right in with what we want to do, and he brings an edge to our offensive line. He's almost an extension of that. But we also think with John that he's got much like Kinlaw, he's got another step to go in the pass game. He's got some untapped stuff that we really want to work on. And when we re-signed him, that was one of our goals. We talked to him about that. It's like, we don't want to just bring you back, we want to get you better and better, and he was really positive about that. So that room's a really good room. It's a really deep room, and that's what we want to create with every room, really, is competition, and that's really the theme of our program.
I love it. I love the idea that they're going to him, because Logan and I have talked about this at times where Logan in his career was kind of pigeonholed as this guy that was just a blocker, and he would always work on his blocking and just try to get better at his strength. And, he wishes by the end of his career that, instead of just accepting the fact that there was always going to be a room for the team that Logan was on to upgrade over Logan Paulson, that he should have been like, I'm going to upgrade Logan Paulson. And it was something that kind of hit him later in his career. And by then, you're 8 years, 9 years in, whatever, too late. And for John Bates to have the team that already had you to be like, hey, one, we love what you're doing. But two, we want to make you an even better version, a more dynamic version of yourself. We're not just bringing you back to do this one thing. I freaking love that from Adam Peters. You heard him talk about Javon Kinlaw and untapped potential. We'll let you hear that coming up in a little bit as well. But next, Jeff Ermann inside Maryland. Third time's the charm. Jeff is for real next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, let's try this. Third time's the charm. Jeff Ermann, Maryland or Inside Maryland. Do we have you, or are you Matt Damon on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, where you're just always next, and then we run out of time?
Well, they were trying to hire me over at Maryland to be the next coach, so I have to calls. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that explains it. That's sometimes the phone does be blowing up. I'm sure your phone is actually blowing up with all kinds of stuff these days.
Yeah. It's been pretty busy.
Yeah, to say the least. So I really do genuinely appreciate your time and appreciate you sticking with us here. For those that somehow don't know, Jeff, of course, is the #1 Maryland insider, I think, in the entire region, covering this team, knows more about this team and this athletic department than anyone else. And so, Jeff, I'm going to start with what is a really basic question, but kind of is the premise of everything we're talking about with Kevin Willard. Why did Kevin Willard leave Maryland for Villanova?
Well, I think, it was a bunch of things. I think he underestimated how different it is coaching at a Big Ten school when you have a football program that gets a lot of the money and a lot of the energy and attention. Obviously, he did not get along extremely well with Damon Evans, the AD. He felt like they were pinching pennies on him when, his program was having a decent amount of success, and he felt like needed more resources, especially when it comes to NIL and the transfer portal. And I think he's just like a Big East guy at heart, and he came to realize that culturally it just wasn't the right fit for him, and he got more money. Everybody likes getting more money, and the details of his deal haven't fully come out, but you can safely say he got a significant raise and more money for revenue sharing, which obviously is huge for next year and roster building.
So when he was doing all this negotiating publicly and privately over the last couple of weeks, was there any circumstance where he was actually going to stay?
Only he really knows that. My opinion is no. I think he was going to take the Villanova job no matter what. I think a lot of the things he said were an effort to kind of set the narrative, so to speak, so that when he left, people would say, oh, good for him. He got out of this awful situation and they didn't have any money, and, they were having to recycle basketballs from gym class, like all this stuff. I think I think he wanted to go no matter what. And, he had some pretty good outs, and then Damon Evans leaving gave him a great out, because you can say, I don't even have an athletic director, so who am I going to negotiate with? At the same time you're saying that, you have 4 years left on your deal, so it's not necessarily the way he talked about it, you would have thought that he was a free agent after this year. So, no, I think he really wanted to go to Villanova. That was more of a dream job for a Big East guy who's really friendly with Jay Wright, and everything else was kind of just window dressing.
Jeff Ermann, Maryland insider for 24/7 Sports, of course, the website Inside Maryland. You can read all of his stuff there. So there's, I think, a lot of criticism that he lied in press conferences and interviews, whatever, throughout this process. I also think that there's a lot of criticism of him for telling some uncomfortable truths. Where do you think the criticism is valid on both sides of the, hey, we don't air the dirty laundry, such as Mike Loxley said, versus him lying about certain things, or maybe relying on semantics arguments versus being totally transparent and truthful?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pretend that everything he said was a lie or there wasn't some base, there wasn't some truth behind it. Maryland's athletic department, everybody knows it's been kind of a mess for a while now. They were very behind on NIL. They were not as proactive or innovative as a lot of other schools, and I think that's partially why Damon Evans left, because he saw the snowball coming downhill at him around the corner with NIL, with Willard being unhappy, and then with Mike Loxley facing a make-or-break year and not wanting to have that uncomfortable spot after football season if it doesn't go that well. So there were definitely some truths there. Maryland has operated in, for a big, prestigious Big Ten institution, they have operated like a mom-and-pop shop in far too many ways. So like most things, I think the truth was somewhere in the middle.
All right, two more kind of specific questions here, addressing some of the criticisms, and you as a guy who actually has answers to this stuff. I'm hoping to get the truth out in the open here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a criticism that he lied to his players throughout this process, and I have read everything that I can read that you have written and many others, and I don't know that I've actually read that. I've certainly heard fans say that. But I also think that these kids grow up in the NIL era. Like, they've grown up in this version of college basketball. And I could totally see a situation where he does lie to the kids, because of course I could. I could also see a situation where he's like, hey, look, guys, there's a lot of stuff floating out there. I'm going to deal with it after the season. And they all know what that means. So what do you know about the conversations and the relationships over the last 2 weeks, especially, that he had with his players, and how that affected them during this Sweet 16 run?
Yeah, I mean, I know at the beginning of the NCAA tournament, he told the team, the coaches, players, in no uncertain terms that he would be back next year. So he did tell them that. I think as things passed, it sounds like his words were a little less definitive and starting to parse things a little bit. So I don't know that he said it quite as strongly later on. But toward the beginning of the tournament, he did tell them that he would be back next year. But, you know, in terms of what you said about NIL and this era, you know, it's much different now. 10 years ago, if a coach did that, the players would all hate him and everybody would be disgusted. But now it's so professionalized and these guys move around so much. Everybody's basically on a year-to-year deal that I don't think they're outraged at him. I mean, maybe some are. I can't speak for them, but you know, I can say that there's, you know, both Rodney Rice and Jacoby Gillespie, who both entered the transfer portal today. He wants both of them to join him at Villanova, and I don't think they both will, but there's a very good chance at least one of them will. So obviously, you know, they're not holding against him too strongly. It's just a totally different era right now where, you know, it's not just one big happy family that everybody's expecting to come back next year. Guys are just in and out.
I was joking about that with Robbie Hummel last week, because apparently Matt Painter almost left before Robbie's senior year, and he's like, I would love to have that conversation, and you know, I feel like I was calling him, being like, hey man, stay, and now the call would have been, hey man, if you go, can you get me more money there so I don't have to stay here? And that might be what happens with Gillespie or Rice, and we'll see. The last thing in terms of kind of the TikTok, if you will, the specific reporting, Jeff, is Jeff Ermann from Maryland, or Inside Maryland, is with us. There's a lot of fans that have said stuff about this team dinner the night before the Sweet 16. Do you know if he skipped that and what the significance or the context around that is, or where that rumor came from?
Yeah, I saw that one. I think it's true, but then someone came back out and said sometimes he just doesn't go to the dinners the night before the game. I don't really know what the truth is on that one. You know, nothing would really surprise me, especially when you know, it sounds like he delivered the news to his team that he was leaving via Zoom. So, you know, nothing would be shocking. I think at that point things had gotten well beyond what he expected. He didn't expect that the cat was going to be out of the bag. He, you know, clearly said some things in those press conferences that he wasn't planning to say, that he shouldn't have said, that kind of sped up the progression of, you know, the media attention and everything else. So I think by the end he was just, you know, he was just done and trying to get it over with, which makes you wonder how focused he was on that Sweet 16 game, because if they had won that game and then you have 2 more days of this intense speculation, it was going to get very awkward.
For sure, and we'll never know. Florida's a hell of a team. They probably are going to win that game no matter what, but certainly, you know, that's different than giving your team the best chance to win, which, again, we'll never know. Maryland now moves forward without Willard, and they obviously don't have an athletic director either. We know there was tension between Evans and Willard. We know that Turgeon, there was some tension. We know that Gary at times didn't get along with certain ADs. How important is the relationship between the next athletic director and the next head basketball coach on the men's side at the University of Maryland?
I mean, it's really important. You know, fans don't really think much about these things, but no coach wants to be somewhere where, you know, they don't get along with the AD or the AD doesn't get along with them, which is another reason why it would have been, you know, absurd, I think, at that point to keep him around, because I don't know how you hire an AD who's going to come in and look at what just happened to the guy who hired Kevin Willard, who he essentially threw under the bus by announcing he was leaving for SMU before anyone had gone public with it. And the things that he said at the press conference about this university and the athletic department underfunding the basketball program and all these things, you're not going to find a top-tier AD who wants to work and supervise a loose cannon. So it is important, but, I don't think that they can be picky about that right now because it's going to take a little bit, most likely, to hire an AD, and you can't wait to hire a basketball coach. You're already a week or so into the portal, and, that's where most of these rosters are built is in the portal. So you got to get someone in there ASAP to start recruiting, and then I guess you hope that the AD you hire can mesh with the coach.
Where do they look next for the coaching side of this? Who are some of the early candidates that are emerging, and will they take any of the alums, your Steve Blakes, your Grievuses, et cetera, who have put their names out there in the mix? Will they take any of those candidacies seriously?
You never know, but I don't think so with the alums. I've always thought, it's a very romantic idea having the star point guard come back and become the coach, and maybe it could work out, but college coaching is more complicated than ever with the portal and revenue sharing and everything else. And so to just have a guy who's literally never coached in college and might have coached a couple years as an NBA assistant, to me, is way more risky than any of these other names that might be thrown around. I don't think they're going to get a really big name at this point because, again, it's a lack of stability there. And any big name coach is going to cost a fortune. And if they have security wherever they are, how do you talk someone into leaving a safe situation for somewhere where they don't even know who the AD is and they're hearing all these bad things about the funding and things like that? So, there's a few names floating around. I know that they've interviewed David Cox, the associate head coach from the past couple of years, Tony Skinn, coach over at George Mason, who won the A-10 this year. He was assistant at Maryland under Willard a couple of years ago, really good recruiter, primarily responsible for getting Derek Queen to Maryland. I think out of all the names I've heard, I think he's the best recruiter on the list, and, talent is the name of the game, obviously. Chris Collins from Northwestern is on the list. Buzz Williams from Texas A&M, although I think he's faded. I don't see them making that move. And Luke Murray, UConn assistant, who was, a big piece of that back-to-back title run that they had. And then I think there's a few more names that haven't really popped up yet. But, long story short, for those kind of warts that they have right now, I wouldn't expect a big flashy name.
Last question for Jeff Ermann here on the Hoffman Show. This obviously was suboptimal, to say the least. It was messy. This is no way that any basketball program wants to spend March, especially a March where they have their best run in 10 years. But is there a chance that in the long run, Jeff, that this is actually good for the program, that this is a wake-up call in some way? And some of the things that, while he might have been disingenuous in asking for them, some of the things that Willard asks for, the next coach is going to want as well, and that Maryland basketball can actually go up from here based off of whatever happens next. Is there an opportunity here, I guess, is ultimately the question.
Yeah, I really do think, Craig, that there is. Sometimes you got to burn it down and start over. It was obvious that needed to take place. You'll have a new athletic director who should, hopefully be better than the last one. I think fans, there's a lot brighter of a spotlight on the program now. He did bring some issues to light that, needed to come to light, even if it was in an ugly kind of way. So I think this very well could be a start over point for the program, but you got to make sure you're hiring the right people. You don't have an AD in yet, so you got to hope the people who are making the hire, make the right call, because we've seen what can happen when you don't hire the right guy.
Jeff Ermann writing about all of this on 24/7 Sports, Maryland affiliate, Inside Maryland. Jeff, really appreciate your time, your insight, and now back to fielding the calls for you on actually becoming the next head coach.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, that's Jeff Ermann, everybody. When we get back, let's get back to what Adam Peters had to say today. The Commanders GM speaking at the NFL owners meetings. Had some things to say about the offense we played for you earlier. You got to hear what he said about Javon Kinlaw next. Super interesting stuff from Jeff Ermann. My in short takeaway is that it's very clear that Kevin Willard and Maryland just it wasn't a good match, and that's sucks if you're on the Maryland side of it. But ultimately, in the long run, it's probably good that he's gone, and he might leave the program in a better place than he found it. And if that's the case, then like good. But yeah, this whole thing clearly pretty messy. Good stuff from Ermann there, filling in a lot of the details and the blanks. Today in Florida, though, the NFL owners' meetings continued. New rule change proposals and some stuff that we'll talk about tomorrow as it's getting voted on today. We'll have more news tomorrow, more context, more everything. And plus, there's just a limited amount of time on the show today. So we'll get to that stuff tomorrow. But Adam Peters spoke to a gaggle of reporters and actually was way more like open and verbose than he is in a lot of settings. He seemed pretty relaxed and was willing to talk about some stuff. And I thought the things he said about the defensive line were amongst the most interesting, including what he had to say about Javon Kinlaw and the new role he might play in this Commanders defense.
Yeah, he's have you seen him in person?
Yeah,
he's a monster. Like the Zoom doesn't like he's unbelievable. You might have seen him. I don't know if you went to the joint practices against the Jets last year, and he was probably the heaviest I've seen him there. But he can look like he can be 350 and be chiseled. Like he's a freak. Like it's unbelievable. But I've seen him when he's as low as 275 in San Francisco, and then as high as 330 plus last year with the Jets. So he can play at any position or any weight. Excuse me. He played a lot last year. It was really impressive to see how much he played. 60% of the snaps at that weight, which is really impressive. But if he loses 10 or 15 pounds, if that makes him feel better, he's still going to be just as effective. He's still a monster.
It is very clear, in case you didn't realize it by the contracts and all the things, and the fact that he drafted him and has now brought him here, Adam Peters loves Javon Kinlaw because they just don't make Javon Kinlaws physically. The question is, can they find the right weight and the right role for him to thrive as an NFL football player? Can they take that freakish athleticism and that size, speed, strength combo and get him where he needs to be? And that is still a TBD. It's something that hasn't been done, but I mean, Dan Quinn's about as good as anybody if you were to pick someone in the league to get the most out of a defensive lineman. As for the defensive line in general, what's kind of the state of that group going into the draft? Adam Peters talked about that today.
Feel really good with the guys that we brought in, the guys that were here, that you're going to have a second year in this system. So, we brought in Wise, who's a big physical defensive end. We brought in Eddie Goldman, physical defensive tackle, and then the big one was Kinlaw. And Kinlaw is a tone setter. He's explosive. He's physical. He can line up across the line, and we think he's going to be a great commander. And he wanted to be here. We wanted him to be here. He's from D.C., so there's a lot of extra incentive for that. So they're like kind of the bigger guys that we brought in. We brought Jacob Martin, who's going to be able to rush the passer and do a line a lot of different ways. And then with the guys that we have in there, they'll be a second year in the system. So we feel like we have really good depth, really good competition, and but also the optionality if we do want to add for the draft, we can do that too.
And certainly edge is a position they'll be looking at 29. We'll see who's available. And then they got to figure out like character-wise, because if a guy like James Pierce or Mike Green, some of these names that have been bantied about that are super talented, that fit from a play style standpoint, but are dropping down draft boards for other reasons, is that something they feel like they can tolerate or they're comfortable with if those guys are available on the board? Obviously, they've got a lot of flexibility around the whole roster, and it's the last thing we'll play from Peter's availability today before we get to Dave Johnson on the Wizards at the top of the hour, as they are hosting the Heat tonight at Capital One Arena. But they've signed a ton of one-year deals, and that has left them, obviously, here in year two, having to re-sign a bunch of guys, also having to go find a bunch of people in free agency, which flexibility is good, but stability is also important in the NFL. So just generally speaking, what's up with these one-year deals, Adam Peters?
I think that's just kind of how the market is, too, a little bit of that also. We do have a lot of flexibility in the future because of that, like what you're saying. Like, we're not tied to a ton of players in 26, 27, and so not a ton of guarantees that are out there down the line. But, just building this team, and like I said, we try to build through the draft, and that's going to be a real big focus here. But you only have opportunities if a player wants a 1-year deal, then you can't give him a 2-year deal. And so a lot of the players that we have, we're kind of in that mindset. And so the guys that we were able to sign the longer-term deals, we're happy to do that. But this does provide us optionality and flexibility. But ultimately, like I've said, and obviously, you can argue with that, and I understand that argument. But it's, you get the guys that are under 3 or 4 year contracts. Essentially, that helps build the foundation of your team, and that's where we want to get to.
Adam Peters today at the NFL owners meetings. And some of these guys, they probably wanted to invest a little more in, or at least have a team option for a second year. But if they're on a prove it deal and they prove it, they want to sign for more money next year. So that is always two sides to a negotiation, just like, when they get in the draft day. Yeah, we wanted to trade down, but nobody wanted to trade up. So these are the kinds of things that happen all the time in business and sports, and certainly in sports business. When we get back here on the Team 980, the Wizards have the business of playing the Miami Heat tonight. We'll talk about the weekend that they had and this jam-packed week of home games that they've got 3 in 1 week. Does Dave know what to do with himself? It feels like he's been on the road the whole season. Dave Johnson with us from the broadcast booth at Capital One Arena next. It's the Hoffman Show, Final 45 here on the Team 980. Final 45 because the Wizards are on tonight. We're actually on until 6:45 all week. Monumental Sports team properties are cutting our show short, 15 minutes at a time. Wizards have not one, not two, but 3 home games this week. We also got Caps hockey for you Tuesday and Friday. I mean, depending on how crazy Ovi gets, who knows? Maybe we got a goal-scoring record. But right now, we're talking Zardos, which means it's time to bring in Dave Johnson.
Right corner, Kismet open for 3. It's there.
Time to get the radio party started.
Feeds now, the right block of Alsar. Slam.
It's time for Dave Johnson on a Wizards game day.
Block by Coulibaly. Left wing George. 3 on the clock for 3. It's there.
Feel like busting loose.
Crossover, step back 3. Oh. Jordan Poole. You are cool.
Feel like busting loose now.
On the Hoffman Show.
From the broadcast booth at Capital One Arena, Dave is with us. Hello, Dave.
Hello there. And because they got these spotlights going on, and there's one shining right in my eye.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm not going to be able to call the game tonight. I'm not sure exactly what it adds to the production, but we play on, and we're looking forward to Wizards Radio coming up at 6:45. As by the way, no coach is leaving town like Kevin Willard, and that got me in a bad mood when I was reminded of that because I thought that was Bush League. But that's neither here nor there, and that's not why you called on me today to talk Wizards, probably.
No, it was not, Dave. Do you need someone to get over there and be there just in case you can't see? Or honestly, Dave, I mean, we've talked about this before. It's the radio. You can make it up. You can
That's true.
Just,
That's true.
Oh, Jordan Poole just hit his 28th 3 of the game. What do you know? It's the first quarter.
We always say it's better on radio.
Yes, indeed. I don't know, Dave. We'll talk about the Nets game and the week ahead and all that stuff in a second. Radio, TV, you give up 162 like they did to the Pacers the other night. I don't know if that's better anywhere. I did have a very funny interaction with my wife about that because we were watching the NCAA tournament games, and I got the final score alert on my phone. I was not watching the Wizards game, and I go, oh, the Wizards gave up 162 tonight. And Dave, I swear to God, she looks at me and she goes, that's an option? What happened in that game? I mean, it's an anomaly, right? It's not a reflection on anything. Sometimes NBA teams just catch fire, and that kind of thing. I know the Wizards aren't the world's greatest defensive team. That can happen to anyone. Why did it happen to the Wizards with what the Pacers did the other day?
It was they made threes. They made 27 threes, a franchise record 27 threes.
That'll
and you know what? We talk about 3-point defense. Well, you know what? Unless you tackle them, and if a guy's going to make shots, he's going to make shots. And they just were not missing. Now, I'm not excusing that, but what I'm saying is as the game went on and they kept making all these threes, you're thinking, this is not going well. So, but that is the key. It is an anomaly. This team has been competitive, in terms of just the same week. They're at Madison Square Garden, and they actually fell down by 33 points and made it a 4-point game late. And the Knicks, needless to say, on a Saturday night at the Garden, when they're battling for the right playoff position, they don't want to lose the Wizards. Nobody wants to lose the Wizards, quite frankly. That was just the night where you just thought, I don't believe what's going on. And you just move on from that, and they did. The irony, the most points previous to that, that the Wizards had given up was 159. And it was in a Wizards loss, 159 to 158 against the Houston Rockets. And it would have been a game that everyone would have been talking about for weeks because that was a 4-quarter game, not overtime. 159, 158. Why were people not talking about it? It was the season opener for the Wizards on the same night the Nationals won the World Series. So the next day,
I'm glad I asked about that because now we just got Wizards trivia out of you.
No, but it was one of those things where, as we're going through the game, this is one of the greatest NBA games I've ever been a part of. But we also are keeping the Nationals on the scoreboard, and the game ended, and we were all still staying here watching the Nationals clinch. Win the World Series, if I remember correctly. We stayed here regardless. I forget what time it was. But the bottom line, that was one of the greatest games I ever was a part of. And the next morning on WTOP at the time, I just barely mentioned it. because the Nationals won the World Series.
That is a great story. Man, that's just crazy.
Now, of course, when we give up 162 points, it's not on the same night when the Nationals win the World Series. Then the next day, everybody's talking about it.
Well, luckily, it was the same night as the NCAA tournament. It was a Friday night,
true.
and
true.
now here we are on a Monday, and I'm the jerk that's bringing it up. So
Right.
that's on me.
Thanks a lot.
But they then played the bounce back, played the Nets really tough. And in that game, a guy that I'm curious to ask you about is A.J. Johnson.
Yeah.
He plays 42 minutes in this game as a 20-point night, and I know that the organization looks at that trade as like, we got another first-round pick.
Right.
And you've talked about it with us, too, how they now have 4 first-rounders from this year. How have you seen his game grow since he got here? Because he didn't play a ton in Milwaukee, and now he's got some experience under his belt. So how is he adapting and evolving over this, these 2 months here?
Well, this is a team, the Wizards. It's a team opportunity. Quite frankly, this is what the ownership, the management, transparent that they were going to start over. They're going to draft young players. Well, of course, draft young players. You're not drafting 40-year-olds, but you know what I'm saying. You get a core group in here, and let them play, and let them see what happens, and you see what happens, and Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and Kershawn George all season long are averaging between 25 and 30 minutes or whatever the number is, and it's somewhere in that vicinity. You're going to find out, do we have something here, or, wow, maybe we made the wrong choice in the first round. That happens. That happens to all teams. Instead, needless to say, Alex Sarr is a Rookie of the Year candidate. Bub Carrington, Kershawn George is the one that I don't think a lot of people talked about. And he was playing his best basketball, unfortunately, before the ankle injury. But A.J. Johnson gets drafted by a team, the Bucks, where it's a different situation. You're going to go to the Wisconsin Herd. And that's not a negative because, look, we've seen, a guy named Chris Middleton developed in the G League and later starred for the Milwaukee Bucks. So the point is, the great thing about the G League now, you do have a situation where you have stories that come out of there of players that make it in the NBA that in another generation would have been lost. They would have been cut from the NBA team, and they would have taken a contract in Europe, and you never would have heard from them again. So it's a different dynamic, and it's definitely a positive. So, A.J. Johnson, career high, 42 minutes, career high in points and 20 points. But it's not, we can get caught up in numbers, but he is fearless in the way he attacks the basket. He hit a big three-pointer that put the Wizards up late the other night against the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, he can make the three-point shot. Wizards fans have been excited about him from his first game here, where he jumps out of the gym on the slam dunk. So he performs the highlight plays to get everybody oohing and on. And he's had a few ooh and ah moments, not only in this building, but on the road. He had a reverse dunk the other night. But his game is more than just, the NBA All-Star Dunk Contest game. He can do that. He can elevate. He can get up. But he's showing that, he's got such a complement of skills that you can see why he was a first-round pick, and he's going to get his opportunity here with the Wizards, which why he was excited about the trade. Here's a guy that everybody wants an opportunity to get on the court in the NBA and show what they can do. And as Chris Wright, who does, as you know, the former Georgetown star, does our post-game on Michelob Ultra, appears on Monumental Sports Network, as he says, boy, he would be loving to play as a young player, playing for the Wizards, because you know what? You make a mistake, you're not looking over your shoulder. You're not getting 10 minutes of garbage time, for a lack of a better bit, or just coming off the bench at the end of the game. You're in situations and in games, whether it's Denver, whether it's Brooklyn, or the Knicks, even though they, again, sometimes the final score of games don't tell the story of how the Wizards played. The other night in New York, when the Wizards ended up losing like 122-103, it was a 4-point game at one point in the fourth quarter. When you have a competitive game in the fourth quarter, that's important. So this is how the Wizards determined they're going to get better. Develop talent by playing them, get them out on the court, see what we got, see what they can do, and quite frankly, you see it in their attitude, in their confidence, because they've been thrown up against first team opposition, and you're starting to see the excitement, certainly with A.J. Johnson as he came here. I mean, you go from a player going back and forth to the G League to, wow, I've got a chance to start. I've got a chance to play, 40 minutes. I've got a chance to show him.
For sure, and I think he has. I think you can see the confidence growing as well. Next up tonight against Miami, they've won 4 straight. They're hanging on to the 10th and final play-in spot, if you will, playoff spot, tied with the Bulls for 9th, trying to hold off Toronto, last team eligible to make it in the Eastern Conference. Dave, appreciate the time, sir. Your pregame starts 32 and a half minutes from now. Are you ready?
There we go. Well, then I'll stay in position. I'm ready.
All right,
I'm ready.
He's ready to go. Appreciate you as always, Dave. Thanks very much. Dave Johnson, the play-by-play voice of the Washington Wizards, with us here on the radio. Of course, each and every Wizards game live here on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app. When we get back, more hoops tonight. We got 2 Final 4 spots on the line for the ladies. We'll preview TCU and Texas, as well as UConn and USC. But first, everything else in the world of women's sports. It's presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want it at Wawa, with customizable crispy and roasted chicken sandwiches. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Tonight, it is the second night of the Elite Eight in Spokane for the ladies, UConn, USC, and then we got Texas and TCU. And first of all, Anthony, going back to the weekend in this tournament, the Notre Dame TCU game was everything that it was, everything that we thought it would be.
Yeah.
What a banger of that one. By the way, how much did you watch this weekend? Because I know you were in Jamaica, mostly not paying attention, but did you get a chance to watch any of these games?
So I didn't get to watch any of the women's games. I watched the Duke versus Arizona game. I was locked in on that one. That was my only time I could really nap or lay
late
down.
night.
Yeah. But I went back and rewatched a lot of the women's games. I was like, I gotta see what I missed, because all of the games were close down to the wire. Even the Duke South Carolina game, I didn't really give Duke that much of a chance, and they had a lead going into the fourth. So, I went back and watched most of these games. They were all pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't get the chance to watch either the LSU UCLA or Duke South Carolina game yesterday because I was at an event all day, an event that we'll talk about more for funsies tomorrow on the show. It just ran out of time today. But the games on Saturday I was pretty locked into, especially that Notre Dame TCU game. I mean, Oklahoma UConn at night. I mean, Paige had 40. That was crazy.
Yeah.
To go on a 19-0 run all by yourself in the second half. And there's this great quote from Gino where I guess it was either halftime, maybe it was first quarter.
It was the third quarter.
Was it the third quarter interview?
It was the third quarter going.
No, that's right. It was, because then I forgot that whole run was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in the fourth quarter, 19-0 run.
And yeah, she outscored Oklahoma 19-13 in the fourth quarter. Gino's like, there's times where I just know Paige isn't going to shoot. And I wish that she would just shoot it. And Paige came out and shot that thing and just hit 3 after 3 after 3, 40.6 rebounds, 3 steals for Beckers. But in the Notre Dame TCU game, man, Notre Dame just couldn't hit layups. It was bizarre. They would get good shots, they would get downhill, and they just could not hit layups. And that's kind of been a thing for Notre Dame. And in that fourth quarter, they couldn't hit anything. They only have 10 points. TCU outscores them 20-10 in the fourth quarter. And, I mean, good for Haley Van Lith, who just had a really rough year last year under Kim Mulkey at LSU. Just didn't seem like it was a good fit at all. It seemed like the relationship between her and Mulkey wasn't very good, or at the very least the basketball relationship, if not more. I mean, Mulkey's a nightmare to deal with, in my opinion. I know some players have really liked her, but, she ain't my cup of tea. Van Lith, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. And she does enough defensively against these guards at Notre Dame that they're able to win the game. Because, you would think that between Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, Sonia Cintrone, that one of them would have been able to go at Van Lith defensively. And Haley was just like, nah, I'm good. She had a couple blocks, a couple steals in this game. All right, she's credited with 1 block and 1 steal, but she made some other plays that affected it. And 3 for 19 from Hidalgo, 3 for 10 for Miles, who will be the second pick if she comes out in the draft behind Beckers. 4 of 15 for Citrone. And, I mean, these are not they didn't shoot well from 3, obviously. 0 of 3 for Hidalgo, 2 of 3 for Miles, 0 of 3 from Citrone. They're missing shots in the paint. Right, left, center, reverse, straight on. And that's how TCU is able to advance to this national quarterfinal against Texas tonight.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of kind of overlook TCU. I know
I didn't pick them.
I didn't pick them either. I had Notre Dame winning. I didn't expect Hannah Hidalgo to go 3 for 19. There was a game earlier this year. She dropped 36, close to 40 a couple of times. You also have 2-time All-American Olivia Miles. They are loaded over there.
They're loaded. Hidalgo, Miles, and Citrone will all be top 5 picks in the next 2 drafts.
Yeah. So I honestly didn't give TCU all that much of a chance. But in March, I feel like if you play defense and you let a team hang around, and there's a reason they went 19-1 in their conference and won.
They're great.
conference tourney. So I think they just, stepped up to the plate when the moment was here, and Haley Van Lith was able to lead her team. And I'm hoping they can do the same tonight. They have a little bit taller of a task because Texas is huge. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. It's so weird seeing TCU. It's like, oh, the Big 12 champs. Wait, what happened? Oh, right, they're in the SEC now.
Yeah.
That's what happened to that. And by the way, it might be the next 3 drafts for the Notre Dame guard because Hidalgo is only a sophomore, so she might wind up going all 4 years, and in which case it would be 3 drafts from now. By the way, don't forget, 2 weeks from today is the WNBA draft.
Dang, I forget. Yeah, the turnaround
It's
is so crazy.
fast. It's the 14th. We got a special show that day that we'll tell you a little bit more about in the next. Actually, remind me to text Drabby in the morning and see what we're allowed to say about that. But at WNBA draft day, the Mystics currently have the 3rd, 4th, and 6th picks in the first round. So we gonna do something a little bit different on that day because it is a big day for the Sticks. But TCU, Texas, they are going to battle tonight. Old rivals, of course, from the Big 12. Texas now in the SEC. And the player that you need to know from Texas is Madison Booker. She wears 35, so you get the Durant flashbacks. But she's also tall, lanky, and can put the ball on the floor and shoot and do all of the things. It's not just that she wears 35 in that jersey. Not to mention everyone else they got. They're short in terms of rotation. Only play 8. Really, it's 7, kind of 6 eat most of the minutes. But it is a really talented team that was toe-to-toe with South Carolina all year in the SEC. Barely lost to them the SEC tournament, I think, was a bigger win for South Carolina. But played them really close in the SEC in conference play multiple times. This is a very, very good team. I don't have to make a pick, Anthony. I think I picked Notre Dame coming out of this bracket. So
yeah,
I already was wrong. So I can just skip the pick part of it.
I wish I could go. If UConn was a 1 seed, I would say all the ones would go. But I think I'm gonna pick Texas to win this game.
Yeah, I would probably pick Texas as well. But don't sleep on TCU.
Though. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
I think I'm rooting for TCU. I would love to see Van Lith break through and have some Final Four redemption after last year. Especially with LSU getting knocked out.
Yep, Sweet 16.
Hey, so sorry, Kim Mulkey. It's really cool that the player that you gave mental health problems is now going farther than you in the tournament.
Yep.
Was that too much? No, it was the exact right amount. UConn, USC. This should have been, if Juju Watkins isn't hurt, this is the matchup of the year. Yep. This is Angel versus Caitlin. It's the 2 biggest stars in the sport. And they would have been heads up on each other, Beckers versus Watkins. Instead, you still have a really, really good USC team. They're a number 1 seed because of Juju, but also not entirely because of Juju. They played really well in that game where Juju got hurt. She got hurt early, and they smashed Mississippi State 96-59. They had their troubles with Kansas State, who's a good team. That's the 5 seed, 67-61, that final score. But look, do I think UConn's winning this game? Yeah, I picked UConn to win the whole damn thing. But this should be a really fun game tonight. And the question to me is actually not as obviously, do they have someone who can slow down Beckers? Do they have someone on the perimeter who can slow down AZ Fudd? But also the matchup inside between Iriafin and Sarah Strong. Sarah Strong, the National Freshman of the Year, number 1 recruit in last year's class, stud post player for UConn, going against the player who might be the 3rd. She might be a Mystic in 2 weeks. Is the number 3 overall pick in Kiki Iriafin. So that is the battle. If that is neutral, then UConn's going to win. If Iriafin has a night, then USC's obviously got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the task is too tall for USC without Juju. Again, we saw what Beckers did yesterday. AZ didn't have all that crazy of a game. Hannah Strong didn't have that crazy of a game. And, they just have to – this year, Paige has reinforcements. Last year, they were hurt. They didn't have the talent that they have this year.
Aaliyah was getting in foul trouble all the damn time.
Exactly. So I think the task is too tall. But, hey, USC can defend. That's what they're going to have to lean their hat on. They have Kennedy Smith, who's a freshman. You can try to put her on AZ or Paige, but I don't know. You got to pick your poison when it comes to this team.
Luckily, Aaliyah's figured out how to play better and / the WNBA.
Yes, sir.
A little bit better. And now I can't wait for
And
her
she got
sophomore year.
one-on-one moves. She
Yeah,
got game.
I'm so excited for her sophomore year. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Media Day because she's hilarious and fun to talk to, and Media Day this year is going to be a blast. But yeah, it should be a fun one. That's the 9 o'clock game tonight. So those games are on the ESPN family networks. I think they're actually both on main ESPN. All right, when we get back, wrap up the show. Real things, real people said, into real microphones. Then we are off to the Wizards pregame here on the Team 980. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Should be live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Tomorrow on the show, we have NFL rule changes. We'll see if there's any updates on Maryland's coaching search. It's a vibe check Tuesday. Vegas has put out their over-unders on win totals for the season. Tell you now, Commanders is 10.5. If you want to let us know how you feel about that, you got to call tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour because it's a vibe check Tuesday, and that's how that goes. There's also a chance there's going to be more news out of the NFL owners' meetings. I do believe the coaches' breakfast is tomorrow, so I think that means we get some Dan Quinn sound. If not, then we'll have that on Wednesday because I'm not there. I don't have the schedule anymore. But I remember that being a 2-day event with the coaches' breakfast being on the second day. And you walk around the fancy hotel all day and see if you can get some more time with the executives and folks, and then you get on a plane and you go home. That was back in the day when I went places, Anthony. Now I sit here at this microphone and I talk to you and everybody else.
You sound upset.
In terms of
maybe upset is a strong word. You sound like you miss it.
I miss the owners' meetings is one of the best ones on the docket.
Okay.
It's a good one. It's there's a lot. It's just, when else do you get to go sit in on a scrum with all the NFL owners, or go talk to someone, or find some executive in the hallway and just have a chat? I also one of the things that I actually really enjoyed that made me feel smarter about the game was the officials would hold media sessions to explain the new rules. So hey, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just waiting on such and such to get out of a meeting. Oh, look, the officiating briefing is happening. And like the league head of officiating would and like 2 referees would lead you through a bunch of tape and be like, hey, this is legal. This is not. This is going to be a point of emphasis this year. This is not. This is the rule change that we're considering. Like, so there's good information, and you just sit around a really fancy hotel all day. It's not where you stay.
What about the food?
You're kind of on your own for food. It's not like it's catered. I mean, if you want to be able to eat at the hotel that you're at's restaurant, typically you can get some pretty good grub. But you also might not be able to afford it depending on how liberal your expense account is.
That too.
Because like, you know the hotel that exists somewhere around the corner that you're like, I will never stay in that hotel. I don't even know it's not even worth looking at the costs. Like, that's where they hold the thing. So they're at like the Breakers, Palm Beach. When have you ever gone searching for a hotel on vacation and looked at the Breakers, Anthony?
Would it be crazy if I told you I don't even know what that hotel is?
That's kind of the point.
Okay.
Yeah. God, I was just in Phoenix. What is the one that's out there? The Biltmore, Phoenix. That's
Expensive.
one. So there's that one, and they're always in like cities that you would never go to either.
Would you say the Ritz-Carlton is a hotel that's sort of kind of affordable, but not as expensive as the ones you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we're talking, what's the stage up from the Ritz? Because that's NFL owner money.
Yeah,
and that's where they hold the meetings.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I know how much it costs to stay at the Ritz.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I've looked at Ritz's on like hotels.com type websites or whatever, my Capital One, my this, my that. Oh, did you stay at a Ritz this weekend in Jamaica, Anthony?
No.
Did you go to a Ritz and steal a water bottle in Jamaica, Anthony?
No.
How'd you get that water bottle?
This is from 2 Thursdays ago. I had grabbed 2 water bottles from when I stayed up there.
Where did you stay at a Ritz?
In Philly.
Oh, because you were there with Zaire though.
Yeah.
Doing like for an event that he was putting on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to stay there.
That's pretty nice. Did you have to pay for that, or did Z hook you up?
Z hooked me up.
Your guy got a nice little extension a couple years ago. Yeah, no. See, the players can stay at the Ritz.
Yeah, they can do that.
The owners are like, the Ritz, man. If I have to, it's
that's
like
insane. Man.
Most of us look at it as like a Holiday Inn Express. It's like it's not my number one choice, but like I'll be fine with the Holiday Inn Express. It's a perfectly fine hotel.
Yeah.
They got the cinnamon buns and the whole deal. That's how NFL owners are looking at like a Ritz-Carlton. Must be nice. Must be nice. There's something else I was gonna say off of that. I don't remember what it was. What? I was like, what if we had a road trip, Anthony? What hotel would this radio show be? And I was like, you know what? We shouldn't answer that. We should, for a multitude of reasons.
I was prepared, though. I'm not going to lie. I was going to be honest.
For a multitude of reasons.
Oh, yeah, that too.
We should not answer that. All hotels that want to potentially sponsor the show, we think you're great. And notoriously, we're looking for sponsors. Also on the show tomorrow, the Weekend in Review, brought to you by
nobody, Craig.
Yeah, that was one of the multitude of reasons.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
Alrighty, here we go. What?
We got to play it.
Earlier today on the Chris Russell Show, this exchange happened between Metal Chris and the Rooster.
Before we turn things over to Craig Hoffman, we have a special little surprise. Metal Chris is the father of 2 young daughters, one of which is 5 years old, and she's making her radio debut. Daddy said, hey, I'm going to work with the Rooster today, Chris Russell. And here was her response.
All right, where do you think Rooster lives?
On the top of a barn.
And what do you think he does every day?
Go, cock-a-doodle-doo! Like a rooster.
That's awesome.
I don't know where Chris lives. I don't think he lives on top of a barn. Sometimes when I come in here after him, it feels like I've entered a barn.
Yeah.
He definitely just goes cock-a-doodle-doo all day.
That was hilarious, man.
That's real good. Bresh, excellent work out of you. Speaking of dad stuff, Lakers and Rockets tonight. The first time that Jabari Smith Jr., the Rockets' young forward, played LeBron James, he told him this.
You played against my dad, your first NBA game ever. Really? Sacramento.
Yeah.
You feel old, don't you?
That was my first time playing against him. We was coming down the court, and it was kind of like a dead ball situation. And, it was kind of a time for me to, say something. I could say something. I said it, what I'm saying? I didn't really go into the game thinking, I'm going to say this to him. It was just kind of I'm going to tell him real quick, see what he say. It was cool playing against him just because I looked up to him so much. One of the greatest players ever, the greatest player ever. Just playing against him was a surreal moment. My dad was courtside at the game. He played against him the first game, and he got the first look at him, and he knew from the jump he was going to be something special.
Thanks to the NBA and the Rockets for that. He almost said it like he was talking trash. Like, yo, old man, you're so old that you played against my dad in your first ever game. That's almost how his voice sounded.
Nah, it definitely did. But it's still just so crazy to see. LeBron played against.
He played against a lot of dudes' dads.
Oh, my God.
There is
coaches,
oh, God, the number of coaches that, JJ, his coach, was drafted after him, had a 15-year career, and is now his head coach.
Yeah. Insane.
It's bananas how long LeBron has been playing. LeBron's career can drink. Wizards, Heat tonight at Capital One Arena. Coverage next here on the team, 980. We'll see you tomorrow.